The time's come to play here in my garden of
Hello, Harmonia, aka Media Adaptation, and welcome back to Moderation while Media's for a Game. And it's time once again to talk about the supposedly Lost Day style anime, Go for a Punch, aka Saki Sanobashi, where we cover any new developments on the Discord and Reddit channels, and then cover older anime and manga. And on the Discord server, we have some rather interesting news. A while back, a member found a video site on the Wayback Machine, so again, pre-2015. I think the actual date was like March 3rd of 2000. That had an entry for a video called Go for a Punch. Sadly, like many things involved in the search, the image couldn't be recovered. I bring this back up because, since it was a foreign language site, they wanted to make sure that this wasn't some sort of auto-translation thing, so they went through the source code. And yes, that was the title of the video. And the file name was GFAP, but spelled with 2 more Fs. And not only that, it's also classified as a dark anime. So, taking this all into consideration, this is kind of proof that this thing actually existed. We can't say for sure of its contents, but there was an anime called Go for a Punch, cataloged as a dark anime pre-2015, aka before the original post was made. If all that checks out, then that's actually pretty substantial. There was also another interesting discovery, but in a very different way. A live-action movie called Lady of the Sea of Blood, which is about a woman who seemingly stuck in a bathroom and then kills herself. Sounds familiar? And the title is supposedly called Volume 5, meaning that this isn't just a one-and-done thing. This is some sort of niche that people were into. For the life of me, I can't understand why, but given the previous topic, this shows why an anime along similar lines could have been made. These tapes were made in the 1990s, so again, much closer to the same time period. And one member of the Discord has also ordered a DVD rip of them to try and find out any other details about it. Oh, how funny would it be if the reason we actually found Saki is because it showed up in one of the trailers or special features? And speaking of which, last week, someone came out with the idea of, what if the search was just some sort of big viral marketing thing about it? Which would be interesting, if not a little infuriating, but it would have been neat if we got an anime out of it either way. But until then, we still have the Recreation Project, by Team Saki, who put out another test sketch. We were also encouraged to reach out to them, and they graciously shared with us yet to be seen details about the project. So we'll try and put the correct username with each of the images. It's really amazing how well some of these have turned out. And as for the Reddit, well, it's less cringy than normal, but nothing worth actually talking about. And as for the other one, there is a post about the DVD, so I'm guessing this is where the topic first came to light. And then a second post trying to do a play-by-play, but they had to stop around the 2-minute mark. So I say, nice attempt. But sadly you'd have to abandon your humanity, like I have, in order to make it through the entire thing. As well as the normal things that get brought up with the search. Then we have another post talking about what one of our viewers had posted last time in our comments. That the image last week was in fact from the YouTube videos called Something Scary. I thought it was one of those, but good to have confirmation about it. They also provided the correct link to the image in question. And finally, our last one brings up the possibility that Saki might have been a fan animation, which was always a possibility. I don't think there's a place that actually cataloged those from the time period. And if the video was taken down by its owner, then information about it could be really hard to come by. But anyway, it's time to look at the final animation for Dream Hunter Rim from 1992. An odd but mostly satisfying send-off to the series, combining the plots that are brought up in each video, and bringing back our first and arguably most dangerous villain, Dr. Death. In the Japanese Ghost episode, I believe it was episode 3, our spirit's beloved was said to be from a line of people known as the Dream Guardians, an ability that normally stays dormant in humans, but occasionally can be triggered. They suggest that great minds throughout history have had this power, thus giving them insight like Nostradamus among a few others. Rim would also be from this line, having her abilities forced upon her after her encounter with the demon that stole her ability to dream. So she works hard to protect those of others, hoping to one day find out what became of her own. Also, that event may or may not have killed her parents. It was actually never really addressed. But she did get a weapons dealer in France that seems to have no problem with giving decommissioned military technology to a child. Anyway, back on track. Dr. Death is also said to be from this line, and his powers awakened from a deal with a demon. And for 100 years, he saw the dark desires of mankind, and then decided instead to kill them for their sins of the past. A nice bit of duality off our main character. Since he died at the end of the first one, when Rin pulled him into the human world, so he's finally able to be finished off. He now finds himself in the other role from many years ago, now being the partitioner of the Faustian bargain, adopting the name of Mephistopheles, which seems to be more of a way to trick other demons into aiding his cause more than anything. And now on top of that, let's introduce Frankenstein's monster to the mix. Because anime. To be fair, it is the long descendant of the Mad Doctor, who also, in all honesty, fixed the major problems with it, giving him a fully functional brain as well as no visible scarring, allowing him to have a shot at a normal life. Our scientist from Part 3 was also part of the project, who they then brought in Rem, because their hypothesis is that the ability to dream is a hallmark of what it means to be human. She goes in and sees it more like a simulation of real life, a place devoid of all hopes and fear that normal people have. Not really sure how to classify this finding, they decide to continue their observation, to which he acts just like any other person. But one of their team members, who's religious, thinks that it's a slight against God, so one night he sneaks into his room and then stabs him with a knife in the neck. And thus steps in our doctor, granting the dying wish of Victor, who just wanted to be human. But of course to him, what is a man but a cesspool of fear and dark desires? Also, don't know why it turned him back into the classic look, but I'll just chalk that up to the doctor being his normal self. And so the beast goes on a rampage, decimating the small town and killing untold numbers. The doctor also uses his body as an anchor to stay in the real world, not just for him, but the other demons as well. Rim then shows up and shows off some of her new toys, finally being able to separate the two, which then does lead into some scenes from the classic series. But our girl leads him to a mill, which also has our monk, who's kind of been a hit and miss as of his effectiveness throughout the series. But here he could only suppress the demons and not exorcise them, as they are clearly Western demonic spirits, to which his Eastern magic has only limited effectiveness. Rim comes, and then does her thing in the dreamscape, slowly working her way through the Legion, before finally coming face to face with Dr. Death, and their fight takes up most of the film, with the tide of it turning back and forth several times, and with the mech suit he makes almost ending her for good. But the army shows up outside, and our monk gets our girl to safety. They then snap back to reality, as the doctor orders Victor to kill Rim, which he pauses, looking back at the burning windmill, which the blades are in the shape of a cross, thus negating his influence. Again he takes control, grabbing the doctor, who is also powerless in the situation. He thanks Rim for her help, but he must atone for the horrors that were committed. As he holds the doctor, he walks into an opening in the field in front of the army. His only hope was to protect the innocents of this world, as they open fire upon the pair, making sure the doctor can't escape and do this to someone else, as the pair are engulfed. Victor dies as a man. Wouldn't have called this of how they would have ended the series, but as I said before, it is strangely satisfying as well. And we'll look at the manga sometime later down the line, before finally doing an overview of the series. But it's time for our adult animation for this week, which is 1987's Opat's Oman. And it involves a high school campus that keeps getting attacked by a robot, who does exactly what you'd think a robot would do in this type of animation. So our main girl sets up a trap at the swimming pool, and then uses her own mech suit, which I can't show you because it's kind of like the one from Aliens, which means it has an open cockpit, and you can still see her naked while piloting the thing. But after a long-fought battle, the robot is disabled, and it turns out to also be a mech suit piloted by an alien girl, who, due to Earth broadcasts, thought that's how people became friends. Well, the internet did call it the Japanese hello for a reason, but I believe your choices in anime have led you astray. And it's time to finish our video again by looking at the works of Shenmue, as we continue with Chapter 5 of A Classroom Bereft of Angels. She holds up a letter saying that it's from Aname, as our psycho runs past everyone, grabbing it out of her hands and begins reading it, hoping that it contains some information about who the killer was. But quickly, their faces drop, as the blonde girl asks what it says, to which they do not reply. She grows impatient and snatches it from them and reads it aloud, basically saying, "I grew tired of trying to meet everyone's expectations and has decided to kill herself." She grabs Psycho's bow as the letter falls to the ground, and Gray goes over looking at it, confirming that it is her handwriting. The class now turns on the three, pointing to the pile of bodies that they killed without proof. She tries to think of a response, half-heartedly replying that it was their own fault for not being able to prove their innocence, with no one really buying it, as their friends sell her out, claiming that she made them do it. The class really doesn't buy this, but agrees that she was the root cause of all this, and decides to tie them up for now until they can decide what to do with them. And can I just point out how strangely cute they look with this little arrangement? They again turn to our girl, asking her how she's going to take responsibility, to which there is no good answer. Looking over at her friends, taunting her, she makes a break for it, grabbing the crowbar and trying to pry open the door. But they grab her by the hair, as another one hits her with a chair, falling to the ground. Another holds her down with her foot slamming against her head. And the class decides to just finish her off, as she has done to the others before them. But they agree that this should be something that everyone in the group does, as each member arms themselves with the same tools that she once used. Okay, another great image worthy of calling out, as this is an homage to the vocally cover Kagome Kagome. She was beaten, but barely alive, as they decide to remove her from their sight, tossing her out the window, as she did to Green a few chapters back. With it finally done, they start to fix the door, wanting to go home. But then a voice from behind says that they're not done yet, as the vice president walks over and picks up the note, saying that they should follow their beloved leader. And that is where the story ends for today. Again, come back next week as we cover Chapter 6. One problem is solved, only for another one to pop up. I wonder how many of them will do so willingly, and what will become of the ones that don't. And we still have our two that are tied up, so can't wait to see what happens next. And that about does it for this video. If you have any other ideas like seeing made to a video, then please post it down in the comments below, and we'll add it to our next viewer request week.
It's now time for the part of the show where we ask you to help us appease the YouTube algorithm by dropping a like, share, or comment. It helps out much more than you'd think.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, then it's very much appreciated. And if you'd like to support this channel, then please visit our Patreon. Link will be down in the description below. Even if you can't give a lot, every little bit helps. Oh, we also started up a Let's Play channel. So if you want to see us try out some horror games, then feel free to stop on by. Link will be in the card as well as in the description. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Anyway, I'm Runya.
And I'm Ada.
Remind you to take life in moderation.
Weep not, poor children, for life is this way, murdering beauty and passion.